No, this ain't no dang on Illuminati sign. I'm going to tell you what this means. I got this during meditation. This is what we're going to talk about. Welcome back to Instructions for Humanity, guys. Subscribe. It is your girl, Tahirah, your spiritual teacher. We're going to talk about the Kundalini energy rising. This is what we're going to talk about today, guys. Okay, so let's jump right into this very important video. We are talking about the new world order, the new world cosmic ascension, which is your Kundalini energy rising. What is the Kundalini energy? You know, a lot of people call this serpent energy, right? Because when you're Kundalini, it looks like little coils. It starts at the root of the spinal column. And then as your awakening happens, it moves up through the spinal column in little coils. It looks like a little snake that rises, and it comes out of your third eye to your eternal internal knowledge. That's how you get the eternal life. The only way to really have that is to have your Kundalini energy rising. Now, the reason why I'm saying it's the new world order, guys, because this is where we are. I want you to understand where we are. What Spirit is telling me right now is your lower self is going to have to give birth to your higher self. Repeat that. Your lower self will have to give birth to your higher self. What does that mean? It means when we are born, we're born with this thing called fight and flight. So anytime you get into a dire situation, your body actually goes into this state. It's like almost like a hypnotic state, and it triggers survival. This is why one time my sister, her kids were in the car, and the car started to roll back on its own. And somehow she was able to run, chase down her vehicle, her SUV, hop in it, gain control, fall down on the ground. The vehicle ran over her. She somehow got back up, all hurt and broken, and was still able to save her babies because she was in a sense of fight and flight. I say that to say humanity was birthed out of fight and flight. We're actually born with this. That's actually the root chakra aspect of us. It is the code of us that is just at the beginning, but that's not where we're supposed to stay. We're not supposed to live and dwell in our root chakra. We will never get to the Kundalini rising. We will never get to the new world order, to cosmic ascension. We won't get there. So I say that to say we are moving into a new frequency that your lower self will have to give birth to your higher self. That old fight or flight will have to now be subdued in order to start your ascension journey through the various chakras. We're rooted in the root chakra, but that's only because it provides us with the materials needed to actually give birth to our higher selves, the higher aspects of us. And as this energy continues to change on the planet, where they're bringing in their demonic new world order, but see, we as cosmic ascended masters, some of us in our own right, we also have to be giving birth to the new world order within, which is the cosmic ascension of self. And if you do not have your Kundalini, if it's not risen, then the Christ cannot return. If the Christ cannot return during their new world order, then they'll win. The evil ones win. That's what I'm saying. The Kundalini energy is the Christ energy that during this very important time must be awakened within you. And the ones of us who are holding this energy portal open, because once your Kundalini energy rises and you are now an enlightened one, you can now have your third eye open, where you can not only see the truth within, but the truth without as well. We are a light portal that's actually going to shine the light and hold the gates open for the other people when havoc comes on this earth with the others and their new world agenda is what I'm saying. So your lower self will now have to give birth to your higher self. So no more can we live in the root chakra. Now, guys, in order to have this Kundalini awakening, what it is, and I keep talking about this, I got a channeling last year where I was asking Source, do people still make love in the cosmos? And I saw two souls shooting out from the one divine mind of Source. And they were bursting into these various beautiful colors, beautiful reds and pinks and blues. And they were making love energetically. The cosmic sphere, guys, the natural feeling in the cosmos is a sensual state. But when you come here, the religions hijack that sensual state that you get for free. They hijack it and they put the religions in charge of it to keep you away from it because they don't want your Kundalini rising. Because what it is, it starts at the root chakra, guys. But as we start to control ourselves, as we move into periods of isolation and celibacy, if you're not in a period of celibacy, your Kundalini energy will not be risen. Christ will not rise within you. You must be celibate in order for this to happen. Now, could it happen if you're not celibate? Yeah, sure. It could happen. I'm going to tell you how mine happened. It happened by accident. And literally, my lower aspect of myself really did give birth to the higher aspect of myself. But it happens in periods of celibacy. So a lot of times the chosen ones, we're in a period of isolation. The divine isolates us because we are about to answer the call. We are going to be the ones holding the light. So we have to go into a place where we can be disconnected from the world so that we can get our divine instructions. That's why this channel is called Instructions for Humanity. What I do is I uncode those DNA instructions inside of us so that we can now have a template to help the world. And if you guys want to book a session with me, go to instructionsforhumanity.com. And I use the modality of hypnosis to guide us into a past life. When we're guided into a past life, it's not really about the past life, but what it is we're entering the field of infinite potentiality, where all things can be seen. And that's when we really get to work through the soul ties, the karmic loops that we've been on for years and lifetimes, karmic cycles, even this thing called generational curses. We can heal all of that through this very powerful modality of hypnotherapy, right? Past life quantum healing regression. So you can reach out to me on my my website, instructions4humanity.com. But anywho, so my lower self gave birth to my higher self when I was in a period of isolation. The whole world, it's like my whole world stopped. I lost everything, people and material wealth. But what I gained was so powerful. You guys know I lost a ton of weight fasting. A few years ago, I set out to fast. It was like COVID time and I was sitting in isolation, girl, in quarantine. I had gained like 35 pounds in like 2 months because I'm used to moving around. It was just like I wasn't moving anymore. So then I was like, oh man, I got a lot of weight to lose. So I started fasting. I started water fasting. And I didn't set out to have no Kundalini awakening. I set out to get these pounds up off my ass, if you know what I mean. But what happened was it started to eat away at all my dead proteins. So your body starts to go to a state of autophagy during fasting after 24 hours or so. Starts to eat up all the dead proteins, eat up disease, eat up all the disagreeable cells, gives birth to new baby cells. It's a very beautiful healing journey. Body's just eating away at itself, basically. It's making everything well. This is what happened to me when there was nothing more to eat up. And I had gotten really small too. I was like probably 25, 30 pounds lighter at the end of my fasting journey. And I was like all sucked in, you right? But after there's no more fat to eat away at, then you get to your Kundalini awakening. When there's nothing more to give. When you have sacrificed. When you're the sacrificial lamb, now You start to receive because I made room for this to happen. So that's how I got my Kundalini awakening, where I now had that energy, because when you're fasting, you're not having sex, right? Well, I mean, you shouldn't be having sex. Some people are doing it, but you shouldn't be. You should really, really just be cleansing out thy body and thy soul. So all of that energy, because the Kundalini is the sensual energy that we're born with, that we get from the cosmos. Nothing, nothing naughty about it. It's your natural God-given state. That's just the truth. But see, the problem is we stay there and we live in our lower selves and we don't harness this energy. This energy is actually supposed to lead to our awakening, to our Kundalini awakening, to the Christ awakening within you. But we never allow it to, because we're always they keep us on this earth school in our root chakra, where we're always in fight or flight. For one thing happening or the other, you can never really ascend, right? And so when your Kundalini starts to ascend, it starts to move through the spinal column and move through the chakras, right? Because the root chakra, like I said, you just root it in that fight or flight. Then you start to move to the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is a very important part of the puzzle, because that's when that sexual energy, when you're in a state of celibacy, starts to manifest in the sacral chakra as it starts to move up. And that's your creative zone, right? Your emotional zone, right? And so if you can now stay celibate throughout that, as the Kundalini is rising through that sacral space, you're about to give birth to some beautiful manifestations, because your creative energy is just off the charts. And then as that Kundalini starts to move up even more through the solar plexus, this is when the Christ energy really starts to take form, because the solar plexus is like, a man, a being just stretched out like this. And this is when you're allowing that sensual energy, that sexual energy that you had inside of you when you're in a state of celibacy, and you are harnessing this energy. And now it starts to spread throughout your body. As before, it was just in your genital area, which is why it seems so intense. But when it can come to the sacral chakra and start to manifest creativity and then expand through the solar plexus, it starts to get evenly more distributed throughout your body. So it's no longer, very intense. It just feels, really good and balanced and creative and loving, and you feel a oneness with the insects and the trees and in everyone, and you just love everyone. It's just very beautiful, because you're standing in that solar plex yellow energy, which is under the frequency of water, which is life, right? Then starts to move up even more through the heart chakra. And that's when you really start to really feel connected. I'm telling you, I went through a period where, sometimes in really warm weather, ants will want to come into your house, right? I went through a period where that happened, and I would just sweep them up and put them back outside. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I did this. I would sweep them up and put them back outside. And if one died in the process, I literally would shed a tear, because I was just oneness with everything. And during that time, I was in isolation. So those ants were my only friend, girl. No, I'm serious. It really gets deep. But if you don't allow yourself to ever move from fight or flight from the root chakra, if you don't allow a state of celibacy, you will never get to your Kundalini awakening. That's why they were Christ wasn't getting it in and all of that, because Christ was becoming one with his self. He allowed to harness. You think he didn't have this sensual, sexual energy? The Christ absolutely had this energy. But he understood that the energy was only to be used for enlightenment. So he allowed the Kundalini energy to rise through all the various chakra points throughout the body. And then you reach enlightenment through the third eye. And then your crown chakra now starts to receive information from the holies of the holies, from even different dimensional beings. And then once this happens, and when my Kundalini energy risen after my fasting, this is when I start getting in touch with other cosmic beings. This is when I understood I belonged to a cosmic family. I had no idea about a cosmic family. We all belong to cosmic families, and some of us have actual royal cosmic families. where we are the rulers of other dimensions. We are the rulers of aspects of source. We're all aspects of source, but some of us are higher in rank. And I belong to a beautiful cosmic family, a royal cosmic family called the Royal Cluster. And that's another thing why your Kundalini energy must be risen right now, is because, and I've been writing about this in my book, there's something that is happening as this humanity. We're in a state of incubation as chosen ones. We're being fed a new frequency. This frequency is starting off in the sacral chakra. It's a new frequency that will activate the healing of the sacral chakra, that will now force us to move the energy up through the solar plexus, starts to take form as the Christ energy, as it moves through that yellow energy portal. And we're going to start to connect to other members, but it's going to be different than a soul tribe, because a soul tribe is still individual people or beings. This is going to be your soul cluster. A soul cluster is one. It's many that are now one. And the ones of us, and I've been blessed, I've met a few people during this period of isolation that are part of the soul cluster. So we are one. It's a very beautiful relationship, but you'll never get to these relationships if you do not allow your Kundalini energy to rise. And the people who say Kundalini is bad, but you're the ones that are living in fight or flight. You're the ones living in the lower, like my brother DK would say, octaves, right? You're living in lower octaves of yourself. When you're actually being called, when you raise your Kundalini energy, that serpent energy, that's why they call it serpent, right? Because it kind of coils like a snake. When you raise that Kundalini serpent energy through the abstaining from sex. So it's just funny how all of these people who have been brainwashed, they always call all of these things bad that they don't understand, when in fact, the only way to actually get to what a lot of us enlightened ones are talking about, you have to be disciplined. You can't get here any other way but to raise yourself and to abstain from mess, from lower level activities, from even sex, from drinking, from smoking, from all of these things that the very people calling us bad are actually partaking in. And what we're doing, we're over here meditating, fasting, suffering dry fasting. Longest dry fast I did was 7 days. No food, no water. I've earned this knowledge. This knowledge I've gotten hasn't been by accident. I'll just come up here and just start saying things. These are all uploads from the Akashic records that we all have within us. Because I went through that purification process. I refined the lower aspects of myself to get this knowledge. Right? So the clusters that are coming together, we all have to be in our Christ Christos state in order to be clustered together. And there's different levels. There's some people who might have a half of an awakening, but they're still part in the world. They're going to be clustered together with those people on that frequency. But as of my cluster that's coming together now, we are the ones that we're already out of the 7 chakras. We're operating in our cosmic chakra systems, is what it's called. We're operating in the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, all the way up to the 13th chakra point. That's where we are. And these are the people that I'm connecting with right now. And more than likely, these people are in a state of celibacy. You can't have this any other way. This is the Christ. This is the servitude and sacrifice. When most people won't walk this road because it's too hard. They just rather have lip service. Go to church on Sunday. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Let's go eat some chicken wings now. And then they get on here and call you bad when you're the one doing all of the work. And in fact, in the end, it'll be us chosen ones, us with the Kundalini energy within that has risen, that will save the day for the lower dimensional beings that are still living and operating in fight or flight. still operating in their lower selves. In the end, it's going to be us. Which leads me to another video that I need to do. I got a message about the next 300 years of humanity. I might stop this and do this in a separate video, but it's predictions for the next 300 years of humanity. You're going to need us. You're going to need the mystics. You're going to need those so-called mediums and psychics, those so-called tarot readers, those channelers, y'all call them bad. They're coming back online, guys, the next 300 years. The next 300 years, these are what will be the top jobs, because the AI will be doing all the mundane jobs. So it's going to be the people in the end that have the outer worldly knowledge that are actually going to be survived and sought after. You're going to need us. So the last thing I want to say about this Kundalini energy rising is we're actually born with this sensual energy. If you guys ever notice children, a lot of children are actually born very with this sensual aspect of them. You know, like little kids, when they're born, they'll be like touching their parts and stuff, and you'll be moving their hand like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And then what we do to these children is, instead of telling them that this is sacred, we tell them it's bad. And when you tell someone it's bad, what do they want to do? They want to do it more. But when you tell them, you need to tell them that it's sacred, and you need to tell them that this is your energy that allows you to expand and grow and become like Christ, become Christ-like. And so you teach them how to harness this energy and move it out of the fight or flight center of their being, which is their root chakra. You want to teach them how to control it. If you teach your kids that, if you say that this is bad, these kids will be out here running amok, sleeping with everybody. They'll be having babies at 16 and 15 and all of that. But if you teach them that this is your cosmic energy that is used to expand, and is how we use to commune with the higher aspect of ourselves, how do we become like Christ? These kids will be celibate. They will. They will. And so we have to shift the paradigm and teach our children the right way, because we're coming upon a point where this new world ascension, the Kundalini serpent energy, we're going to need this in order to defeat what's coming, because they always have to copy source. The evil one always has to copy source. And so when they bring in their new world order, it's going to be sucking the life force energy out of people. So the ones of us that have made it to our Kundalini serpent energy being online, we are going to counteract that bad new world order with our new world order to cosmic ascension, which is the Kundalini energy rising. I'm going to leave this video here for today. I might hop back on and talk about the predictions for the next 300 years for humanity. But I do want to say, I love you guys. The birds, the bees, and yes, all of the trees. They all love you too. Love is the way. Forgiveness, it is the key. And truth is the absolute light that will always, always guide us home. Be well, guys. Subscribe. Bye-bye.